There's a commie in the White House, or at least there will be later today.
I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York himself.
Or anyone else. President Donald Trump on Truth Social wrote the other day, communist mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, has asked for a meeting. We've agreed that this meeting will take place at the Oval Office on Friday. That's today, November the 21st. Further details to follow. I don't know if this is going to be your typical President Donald Trump press conference, sitting in front of the fireplace, cozily chatting about whatnot in the you know the drill. We've seen it with every world leader or every leader who's come to the White House. They sit across from each other and they discuss the important facts of the day. And then the media is allowed to come in and ask whatever questions they would like to ask as well. Not sure what's on the docket. Not sure if there's going to be lunch. Maybe, probably, I imagine that Zoran Mamdani will be expecting some kind of free lunch because that's what communists expect. It'll be very interesting to see if President Donald Trump starts to talk to him or ask him questions about all of the exorbitant and unlikely campaign promises he made that he's already been forced to walk back. You know, like the free buses that can't get funded because the governor of New York, who I guess is not as far left as we thought, said she's not going to raise taxes on the rich to pay for free buses in New York City. Also, those government-funded grocery stores and the rent freezes that he just has no power to control. It'll be interesting to see exactly what happens or what President Donald Trump asks him about, not just as a New Yorker by birth, but by somebody who invested millions and millions of dollars and man hours in building the city up to where it is right now. And somebody who's still an investor. Donald Trump owns tons of property in New York City. Trump Tower, Trump hotels, Trump this, Trump that, Trump Plaza. Trump's all over New York City, much to the chagrin of Zoran Mamdani, I'm sure. And he's going to have a lot of questions, not just as the president of the United States, but as a concerned investor in the Big Apple. It should be interesting, to say the least. I, for one, am looking forward to it. Also in the press briefing yesterday, Karoline Leavitt tore into reporters after they misrepresented President Donald Trump's remarks about the seditious six. You know, those six lawmakers, former military, who are encouraging American servicemen and women to defy orders.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
Yeah, they're all now being told, or there's a movement, rather, urging that many of them be brought to justice. In fact, Mark Kelly, a lot of folks want Sec War Pete Hegseth to remove his rank, to strip him of rank and court-martial him. We'll see if any of that happens. But this is a huge brouhaha that the left-wing fake news media is trying to cover up. They are once again trying to protect the perpetrators of the crime, and they are trying to attack the victims. President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday, seditious traitors. And then he was attacked by the media, instead of the media attacking those who are encouraging the military to disobey orders. And Karoline Leavitt was not having any of it.
Caroline, can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders.
Actually,
every single
refuse an illegal order, which
but they're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
You don't hate the media enough. They hate you. They despise you. They hate everybody who's conservative. They especially hate President Donald Trump. And they will spin in ridiculous fashion the truth of the story into some kind of attack on the president. These are 6 elected officials, congressmen and women, senators. These are former military. They are encouraging troops not to obey orders given by the president of the United States, the Secretary of Defense, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, their commanding officers, if they feel whether that the order is illegal or not. And none of these orders have been illegal. Also, as we pointed out many times on this podcast and my other podcasts, there is no way for the average enlisted private first class or yeoman or airman or Space Force guardian. There's no way for them, unless they've been trained in military law and in constitutional law, unless they've been fully vetted and they've passed the bar. They have no way to know what orders are legal or illegal. Their job is to trust their commanding officers and their superiors and to act accordingly. And when you encourage someone to do the opposite, that is traitorous behavior. It's seditious, and it is inviting a coup d'etat, a military coup d'etat based on absolutely false information that there have been illegal orders given. There have been 0. But the Democrats don't want you to do that, to know that. Thank God we have Caroline Leavitt in the press briefing fighting for us.
Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
But the media doesn't, because the media is the watchdog. They're the protector. Whenever somebody comes at the Democrat Party, they lunge out like Rottweilers. But in the end, they just look like a bunch of clowns. When they left, if you really want to know what the media is like, Caroline Leavitt had to excuse herself from the press briefing because President Donald Trump was having another event with, get this, the survivors of the invasion in Israel. These were hostages held for 2 years by Hamas. The hostages have been returned. They're back in the United States. They are at the White House and they are meeting the president. Caroline Leavitt had to leave to go to that meeting, and the media started yelling at her.
I'm going to let you all go because the president, excuse me, I appreciate the encouragement this morning, but this afternoon, but President Trump is about to meet in minutes with Israeli hostages who this administration freed. And so I'm going to go up to that meeting and you will hear more about that later. Thank you.
You can tell it's really sickening. And again, you just don't hate the media enough. I used to think that the Democrats were the worst people in the world, or some of them were the worst people in the world. But really, I think it's the news media because they offer nothing of substance to this world, and they offer nothing of substance to the debate. They try to spin the debate. They try to lie. They try to turn the good guys into bad and the bad guys into good. It really is shocking. And I'm not really sure at the end of the day what their motivation is, other than they just hate President Donald Trump and everything that he stands for. There was really good news, by the way, which Caroline Leavitt was able to report on before she left. And that was the insane jobs numbers in the United States for September.
In economic news, the September jobs report showed the American economy remains strong, with 119,000 new jobs added, more than double expectations. These gains came after the summer passage of President Trump's historic tax cuts and multiple big trade deals with countries around the world. In particular, construction jobs surged by 19,000 in September, the largest monthly gain in a year. Nearly all of this solid monthly job growth came from the private sector and went to Americans rather than foreign-born workers, the opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. Inflation also remains under control, and wages are up by 3.8% over the year for American workers because of President Trump's pro-growth policies. In fact, real wages are on pace to increase roughly $1,200 for the average worker this year under President Trump. This is a complete reversal of the failed Biden era when we saw inflation skyrocket to 9%, causing private sector workers to see their wages decline by approximately $3,000. We know that Americans are still hurting from the 4-decade high inflation caused by Joe Biden and the Democrats. But President Trump is making significant progress to fix this, and he will not stop working until he solves it. As the president recently stated, he is never satisfied.
Never satisfied. He's going to keep working. He's going to keep moving. He's going to make it better and better and better and better. And the jobs report is, I mean, here to explain it is probably the smartest man in the White House, or one of them, Kevin Hassett. The jobs report for September, not just being as strong as it was, but exceeding expectations, it lays the groundwork for a future that is exactly what President Donald Trump has been laying out since he started running again and since he returned to office.
The September numbers were absolutely hit out of the park. You know, as you said, a double is very rare. But if you dig down into the details, there's actually proof in the pudding that President Trump's policies are really working. And here's what it is, that there was a big surge in construction workers. And we went back and traced it back to, if you remember, President Trump said we're going to expense new factory construction. In September, we counted 11 major companies that broke ground on new factories and hired those construction workers. And the reason why that's so positive is that those factories are going to fill up with new workers and start making stuff and so on. And so President Trump's policy of onshoring production, creating great jobs for American workers was really, really visible in this report. And of course, it shocked experts because they've been naysayers about the president's policy all along.
Yeah, when you bring in manufacturing, when you bring in investment to the United States of America, when you get trillions of dollars from the Middle East and from Asia, and they say, hey, yeah, we'll build some factories, we'll make some chips, we'll create AI operations, we'll build robots and cars and anything else that you need built in the United States. Guess what happens? Construction workers automatically get paid because somebody needs to build the factories, somebody needs to build the warehouses, somebody needs to build the systems. You know, it's pretty basic common sense. But as Kevin Hassett pointed out, all of these economic experts on the left who just hate the president and want to see him and the United States of America fail, they continue to just push their doomsday prophecies that President Donald Trump was just selling off the United States of America and his investments were going to drive up prices and nobody was going to benefit. But alas, here we see in a very short period of time, over 120,000 Americans benefiting because of the new jobs that are being created by Donald Trump's investment. And Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, said this is just the beginning. January 1st hasn't even come around. And on January 1st, we start to see the benefits of something we all know and love, the one big, beautiful bill.
It's just setting up for where we're going. You know, the big, beautiful bill starts January 1st. You start getting depreciation. The factories are going to come online. You are going to see job numbers in the second half of next year that are going to blow you away. And these are just the right kind of jobs. We've got to train these people. We've got to get those people in America into the workforce for these great paying jobs. And I think really America, the golden age, which Donald Trump talks about, he is literally saying we are going to build manufacturing in America and these jobs are going to blow the numbers away.
Howard, should the Fed be cutting interest rates right now?
Of course they should. I mean, you've got really a beautiful economy. The economy can grow with lower rates. You know, these rates are high because of the inflation of the Biden administration. You've seen them all come off. Now you've got the president cutting prices across the board. We're going to drive affordability across the board. You know, he's focused, razor focused on affordability and driving it down. You're going to see inflation coming off. You're keeping energy prices low. You've got tax numbers coming in next year. I think rates should be at least 100 basis points lower. That will free up affordability in housing, and that will help America really reach its full potential.
And let's remember why the Fed has not lowered rates. It's because of Jerome Powell, who yesterday, and I just love this so much, I'm going to play it again, President Donald Trump said had mental problems.
Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. I mean, Scott, you got to work on this guy. He's got some real mental problems.
That's just something that, you know, That's just something that puts me in a good mood. So I like to end the show with something like that. Listen, Donald Trump knows exactly what he's doing, and he has his entire life, and he's created a system for success in pretty much every facet. And that system is easily replicable. If you would like to see and learn and know how Donald Trump's success principles can be applied to your own life, and if you want to read a hilarious and entertaining book that shows you exactly how you can Trump yourself, go to my website, gotrumpyourself.com, and get a copy of Go Trump Yourself, 10 Ways to Live Like Trump in Any Economy. This book is hilarious. It's inspirational. It's Trumpulous, as Kim S. says. And if you're a liberty-loving, freedom-defending patriot and you want to check out some of the rave reviews and download this book instantly and get an audio copy as read by the author, which is me, then you need to go to gotrumpyourself.com. It's encouraging you to get ahead in this world and do it in the way that President Donald Trump himself has done. Go to gotrumpyourself.com. Get this book today. Start living like President Donald Trump tomorrow.